And this is PTK, a work in progress. And what does PTK stand for? Projected TK. A server appears to be running a Tcl TK application, but the GUI is really being rendered elsewhere. More on that later. The goal was to be 100% compatible with a real Tcl TK application, and it's actually about 99.5% compatible. With a little tweak, you can probably make it 100%. The architecture overview of this is we have a business side, which is a TCL module. We have a rendering engine that renders the GUI and is a protocol that hooks the business side to the rendering engine. And these are plug and play compatible. So the business side, it's a TCL module.tm. It's object oriented. It uses the base OO. And in pure TCL, it has all the widget classes defined. They're proper OO classes, and the widgets are proper OO objects. It does require a multi-threaded build, but and I'll go into more about why some of these benefits on using the OO classes. The rendering engine, I currently have two of them. A log, which basically was the original proof of concept, but it's also useful a bit for debugging. Basically, it just writes out what's would be, quote, displaying somewhere. TK, well, do I really need to say more? It renders things in TK. Future would be things like JavaScript HTML5 or TCL HTML5, a little bit more at that towards the end slide, or whatever else you can dream up, because like I said, the rendering engine is decoupled from the protocol and the other one.
Mr.
So,
Lester, we need to see the slides. I think we're actually only seeing the top slide. So if you can just present those.
I'm sorry, what are you saying, Violet?
We're only seeing the title slide.
Oh, it never moved?
Yeah, it did not.
That's bizarre. Did it move now?
No.
Okay, I'm sorry. Let me.
Actually, there we go.
Okay, I apparently can't go into presentation mode for some reason. I apologize to everyone. So, and I've sent Violet the talk, so it will be uploaded. So it's projected TK. It appears as an application, but it's actually being rendered elsewhere. And just to click through here, the architecture is a business side, a rendering engine, and a protocol. The business side again is a TCM module, proper OO classes. The rendering engine, I currently have two, but more can be added. I do have a small proof of concept started on a TCL HTML5 one, and I'll talk a little bit at that at the very end. Protocols. Right now, we have local ones that are interp, which means that it's the same process, two different threads, and they communicate via thread eval. Process, which you're running two different processes, but they communicate via the COM package from TCL lib, and running on local or remote is WebSockets. It communicates via WebSocket package from TCL lib. Again, current state, all widgets are implemented. Only the grid geometry manager implemented. And that's for a couple of reasons. One, it's the easiest. When I was looking at possibly doing this with adding it in for JavaScript, the grid fits very well in the placer could be used. I don't think very many people use placer, and Packer is, for at least for me, a bit of a challenge, mostly because I've never understood the Packer, even though I've worked with since the early versions of TCL TK. I just don't think that way. It does run a slightly modified version of the widget tour, basically to change to use the grid geometry manager instead of pack for some of the ones. Okay, what is not supported? I haven't, again, implemented pack price. Some of the clipboard and selection stuff Send is very problematic to end. I didn't implement these just because, again, this was not a full functional thing yet. It's still a work in progress. Has been for about 2 years. Uh, the WinFo commands are not supported. They could be added, but again, I haven't done that. So, and I'm trying to get us back on time. I'm not really horribly trying to rush us through, but hey, we are behind schedule. So the basic plumbing's all done. The TK renderer demonstrates value. In fact, one of the other presenters here uh, is looking to possibly use it in a real application. Real isn't commercial. The business side basically sends commands over at idle time. Needs to be changed to send commands over at idle event to better mimic TK rendering and behavior. Currently, it sends them as soon as you do them. That does cause some issues with the way people normally do uh, scroll bars on widgets like Canvas and all, because the scroll bar actually has to have the parent widget created before it tries to render anything. So normally most people do the parent, either the canvas or the text box or whatever, then they do the scroll bars uh, in order in the code. You actually have to flip that to get it to things to work correctly. Uh, I am looking to hand this over to some additional implementers to implement additional renderers. JavaScript HTML one would be probably really awesome. I have done a proof of concept, and this shows promise using older version of WACL, which was creating the HTML5 using the DOM commands to create widgets on the fly. Unfortunately, WACL seems to be kind of abandoned, and it needs some upgrading and improvements to come up to the current version of TCL. It is free to a good home. It's at Tcl App. I would be happy to add additional developers to add additional rendering or to fill in some of those missing pieces. And my talk is supposed to end in 5 minutes, and I promised Violet that I would give 4 or 5 minutes for um, people to ask questions. So first off, let me see if there's any questions. Doesn't look like any. Doesn't. And looking, text switches can be remoted. I've suggested the theme song. On a far. Sean wants JavaScript done. Sean, you know the answer to how to get something done, right? Volunteer to do it. Uh, okay, Violet, I'll let us go on to, oh, I see some things that appeared. The JavaScript one, I played a little bit with it, Sean, and basically I don't get enough, understand enough on how to get the JavaScript to accept things from the WebSocket. I've did prototype building a couple of the widgets in JavaScript, and my big problem is getting the WebSocket stuff. What did he intend? Oh, basically, I had the renderer be a TCL script that for WebAssembly, so TCL script that manipulated the DOM, creating things like buttons, uh, just set divisions, etc., to mimic the TK application and build it straight up. Is a proof of concept. It looks very promising. The problem is that WACL is rather old, and it was in some features that it says works really don't work in it, particularly changing the modules that it loads. So if someone wants to do some more work on WACL, I would be love to work with you on getting it actually done that way. I was going to be doing HTML5 to render stuff, and it seems to be a very good pairing with Tcl for HTML5. It's just getting the widgets to dynamically there, and you can either use JavaScript or the WebAssembly running Tcl to do that. Uh, okay, any
Hey
more
Gerald,
questions? Yep.
just one from me. We'll probably need to do place to support table list. How difficult do you think that's going to be?
God, that damn thing keeps coming back to haunt me. Not at all.
Okay,
Place
good to
is
hear.
place is really straightforward. Uh, and for those who don't know it, place is my fault that it's in TK. Uh, the company I was working for at the time was converting a bunch of stuff from a HP GUI generator that was hard coded for placing stuff pixel wise. So we worked with John to get place into TK, and it keeps haunting me to this day.